Homeland Security law into law. So please, may we have the honor and privilege of inviting Mr. Governor to do this honor to the Anambra, do, yes, what he knows how to do best, to do things that are unprecedented, things that you don't see anywhere else but in Anambra. That is why we are first in virtually everything. Mr. Governor is now stepping forward to sign.
So today, Anambra state government has signed into law the Homeland Security law. Like, as you can see, the governor is already signing the bill. But the most interesting part in this bill is that, no matter, even if you don't understand English, try everything possible best to find somebody who can interpret this law for you. Because it's very, very important that you know it. If not, this law is very brutal. Like, you know what brutal means? This law is very, very brutal. And you know, ignorance of law is not an excuse. So every human being is supposed to know what this law is talking about. Because the law, no, they smile. The law did there, and like it affects almost everybody. And you know, you might not judge it by how harsh this law look like, because with what is happening currently now, it is only a harsh law like this that can be able to, you know, bring a little bit sanity to what is happening. You get, even if you don't like this law, if you check what you will pass through when you are being kidnapped or when you are being robbed, you see that it's better that everybody goes through these difficulties now, provided that the entire society and the state is very clean. Like in this law now, few things I'm going to point out here is that, see, this law is against all these native doctors where they do money ritual for people, or where they do okite, or where they do whatever spiritual. We claim that they possess one kind of spiritual power that can make you rich, or that kind of a thing. You know, this law is against anything concerning get money, get rich quick. Is against it. Whether you are a pastor, whether you're a man of God, claiming that you have one kind of supernatural power to do one kind of thing that will be able to enable or to aid any kind of crime, you get, your place of that business, that house you are doing it will be confiscated. You will go to jail. How many years imprisonment? You get, and everything about it, they will just demolish it. Are you getting it? There are so many things here now. The government is even giving out money to people who can be able to, you know, give them information on where some of these crime, kidnappers, all those things are. You get, there are so many things to know about this law, because whether even if your hand is clear, you get how you go fall into this particular problem now, and this law will catch you. So that is the reason why you need to pay very good attention to know what this law is talking about. After watching this video, still try to look for the main paperwork of that law and read it, because that is where you'll be able to get it clearly as it is. You get, and remember, this law now, if you know any criminal, once you don't help police people to get to that person, they will give you 5 million naira. You get, and any community, any local government where we say there is no record of crime in their local government for 1 month, the community will get is it 100 million naira, be like 10 million naira, something like that, for every month, you know.
That in 2009, my then 78-year-old father was kidnapped, and he spent 15 days with his abductors in the bush. Earlier that year, the oil mogul, late Chief Anthony Enukeme, Tony Mas, was kidnapped. Chief Paul Okonkwo Pokobros was kidnapped. Chief G.U. Okeke was kidnapped, even abducted from the church. They were all kidnapped in the state, and many others. It was as if then Armageddon had come. My predecessor, Willie Obiano, tackled the menace head on. And I would say, to a very large extent, insecurity was reduced. However, in about 20 months before we assumed office in March 2022, another strain or variant of the criminal gang under the guise of separatist agitation emerged with command and control centers. They killed policemen and soldiers at checkpoints and collected their guns. They attacked and burnt down many police stations. Sadly, most stakeholders kept mute. They set up camps in bushes and forests and label themselves as, quote, liberators. Most people did not pay attention, and very few people cared to ask how these people with arms will be feeding from month to month, or year to year, or how they will be funding their operation. Finally, the chicken came home to roost. Initially, they turned on suspected politicians, killing innocent people without cause. We all recall the gruesome murder of Dr. Chika Akunyele and many others in a commando style, even in crowded places. Candidates for the 2021 governorship election could not campaign freely, especially in the South Senatorial Zone. And the candidate for Labour Party, Mr. Obiora Abasimalo, was kidnapped en route to a campaign event and has not been seen until date. No governorship candidate could hold a rally in Ihiala local government, and the election could not hold on election day in that local government. But because most of the kidnappings and killings happened during the political season, most of us misread the situation as being largely politically motivated. Facts emerged later to show that the problem was deeper and structurally more systemic. On assumption of office, we met almost a war situation, with 8 local governments literally under the total control of the criminals. We declared a state of emergency and responded massively. Held Security Summit, inaugurated the True Justice and Peace Commission, which, by the way, has submitted this report and we began implementation. Engaged with multiple stakeholder groups. We offered to retrain and reintegrate those in the bush, if only they will surrender their arms, and many other initiatives. We set up the State Vigilante Strike Force structure that worked with the federal security agencies to root out criminals from our forests and remote areas. Within 12 months, we recovered the 8 local governments that were under total siege. I must at this moment commend all the security forces, armed forces, the police, all the security agencies, including our brave vigilante squad as well. And at this moment to remember all those who paid the supreme sacrifice in the cause of duty, and all those who continue to pay the supreme sacrifice in the cause of duty. May their souls have eternal rest. But it is one thing to remember and pray for them, but more importantly, to be sure that they did not die in vain. And the only way to ensure and say never again is that we must rise up and make sure that the reason they died does not continue and will not repeat. And that's why we are here today. Over time, in the Anambra, some of the criminal elements returned to some of the locations. Several of the diverse criminal gangs and camps claim to be Biafra agitators. But the IPOB has repeatedly issued multiple statements, press statements, dissociating itself from the criminals in the bush. But one Simon Eber, with his organized criminal gangs, continue to wreak untold havoc, with kidnapping for ransom as their main source of financing. From the thousands of arrests so far, about 70% of these criminals are not from Anambra State. We understand that they flock to Anambra because, as I understand, Anambra, they say, is where the money is. Second, kidnapping for ransom quickly became the most lucrative criminal enterprise, better than drug trafficking or oil bunkering. The National Bureau of Statistics reported that about 2.2 trillion naira was paid as ransom in 2024. We estimate that for every 1 naira reported, that probably about 5 to 6 naira were not reported. And if you calculate this, this would indicate that more than 10 trillion naira was paid as ransom in 2024. Ladies and gentlemen, no sector of the economy with little capital investment will muster that kind of revenue or return. With no capital, little or no capital. With a culture that celebrates wealth without work and does not ask people for their source of livelihood, even kidnappers and drug barons are also celebrated in our society. So the character is evolving. And besides kidnapping and armed robbery, there are other related challenges which reinforce each other. Cultism, drug epidemic, land grabbing, and touting. You add to these the warped ideology and value system that increasingly celebrates magical wealth, egombute, plus the resurgence of criminal idolatry, which offers the criminals a sense of invincibility, hence their daredevil brutal activities. Idolatry is now the fastest growing religion in the Southeast. Because these criminals in the bush have converted to idolatry, there is a serious clash of religions to the extent that it is no longer sacrilegious to kidnap men of God or even reverend sisters. That's how low these guys, have gone. Nothing is sacred anymore to them. And the attack on the church is real. Because there is a clash of religion now. Our various security agencies, the police, the DSS, the Army, the Navy, Air Force, Civil Defense, as well as our vigilante and other special forces, are doing their best to confront these crimes under the existing laws. But in the Anambra, what has become evident is that for systematic long-term solution, we need to strengthen the legal framework, as well as the institutional organization, logistical capabilities, social re-engineering, and citizens' mass action. The Anambra Homeland Security Law 2025 attempts to provide a framework to progress along the above pillars. It not only establishes a new vigilante architecture, and in the Anambra, like in the Southwest, I think they call their own security stuff Amoteku. Here in Anambra, the new law, Homeland Security Law, our own vigilante service, is called Agune Chemba. Called Agune Chemba. Well, it not only establishes the Agune Chemba, but also provides a framework for community and citizens' ownership and participation in the sustainable security and social re-engineering of our homeland. Agune Chemba at the community and local government levels underscore the point that most cases of insecurity are local. The state Agune Chemba is a strong strike force, intervention force that will be agile and mobile, underscoring that effective kinetic architecture will require a simultaneous interplay of both bottom-up and top-bottom forces. In sum, Agune Chemba assists and complements the federal security forces, especially the police. But on the Anambra, I want to remind us all that brute force will probably address about 50% of the challenges as the first and necessary first step. We can't defeat what ideology and value system with guns alone in the long term. Over the medium to long term, we need to redeem the soul of our society by reinventing our fundamental values of enterprise, hard work, compassion, and integrity as the foundation for sustainable security, law, and order. We will not only revamp our civic and social reformation campaigns, but also seriously reward and celebrate those who distinguish themselves in the virtues that define us. A society ultimately becomes what it celebrates. We cannot allow the 0.01% of our society who are criminals to define the 99.99% of us. The Anambra are known for enterprise and excellence, and we must completely take back our homeland. We invite you to read the new law carefully. It should be the handbook for every citizen and resident of Anambra State. It should be discussed in schools, in markets, in churches, communities, motor parks, and everywhere we gather, we should be discussing this new Homeland Security Law because it provides a handbook to making a beginning to reclaiming the soul of our homeland. We should deepen and strengthen what we are doing that work so far. For example, the Anambra State Special Anti-Touting Squad, aka SASA, a body formed in October 2023, is largely living up to its established mandate, which requires that they get out of the streets, transport, environment, and markets, and is on the stranglehold mission on these touts and drug peddlers. They have picked over 3,000 of such criminals. Open work and environments can breathe better now. We shall work with the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency to implement the National Drug Control Master Plan, which is a comprehensive framework for controlling drug-related issues across the country, towards developing a formidable strategy against drug-related crimes across the 21 local government areas and communities in the state. Let me assure you that the new Homeland Security Law requires the forfeiture of any property used for the manufacture, use, or sale of hard drugs to forfeit such a property to the state government. And if we get such a property, be it any house or whatever, we will take it over and we'll demolish it. Drug is the major epidemic nationally, and here in Anambra, we are launching, with this launch today, we are going to have zero tolerance Zero tolerance for anybody peddling drug or selling it in Anambra. If we catch you in a building, we will pull down that building. I have signed a number of relevant laws that will facilitate prosecution of touts and drug dealers. We know that drugs happen to be in the exclusive list, and so federal officers doing their own best will be working, but we'll be working in collaboration with you. For us here in Anambra, drug thing has become almost like a property offense. If you peddle it, any property where you stay to peddle it becomes a state property. Today, we're launching the Special Intervention Force, codenamed Operation Udogache, which translates to Operation Peace Shall Prevail. It must prevail in Anambra. This special intervention as an emergency action complements regular policing. It's a complement to regular policing work by upscaling intelligence gathering, rewards whistleblowers, enhances rapid response, and to urgently root out the criminals from any and every camp in Anambra State. It will also have special forces on drugs, touting, cultism, and criminal idolatry. We will ramp up our civic and social reformation, and we invite the clergy, and I'm glad you are here in good number, the communities, the teachers, social crusaders to join in this campaign. They will be active in all nooks and crannies of the state with patrols and pin down and stop and search operations as necessary. The pin downs and stop and search may cause some inconveniences to the citizens, but we implore you all to bear with us. We are investing heavily in logistical support. This morning we unveiled about 200 vehicles made fit for purpose to aid operations, and many more will be procured very soon. The Special Force will have more than 2,000 personnel. More than 2,000 personnel dedicated specifically under this Special Intervention Force. And that's in addition to the regular work of the armed forces and our community-based vigilante. And so from the Army, and this special 2,000 personnel is drawn from the Army, the police, the Navy, the Civil Defense, the DSS, yes, from Agone Chamber team, plus other special forces. We are mainstreaming technology. We have installed best-in-class tracking system now in the state, and we had the test run 2 days ago. We're also in placing a command and control system which enhances the use of voice, video, and data in security management, deploying AI-powered surveillance cameras, which we intend to cover most of our communities very soon in Anambra State. Our state call center is enabled with toll-free lines of 5111 and 080022 00008. I mean, you will get these numbers, and these numbers are also put out on the vehicles, so every citizen of Anambra can have these numbers to call. Another platform run by the NCC, Nigerian Telecommunications Community, has the call line of 112 for emergency communication. Operation Udogache shall also be supported by the state's recently established independent communication network, which enables security personnel to communicate flawlessly using walkie-talkies. We need people in the communities to give information to security agencies. Where you feel information given will be used against you, relay such information through our phone lines in Anambra State Call Center. We will be reissuing some of the earlier numbers that we gave during the big battle of 2022 that are actually also around me, around the security officers, around me 24/7, that citizens can also call. We will also be reviewing possible assistance to the existing correctional centers in Anambra to expand their facilities, and will embark on building the state's own correctional centers. In partnership with the federal government, communities, patriotic Indian Anambra, and corporations, we intend to gradually rebuild the 28 or so divisional police offices that were burned down by the hoodlums. Let's begin, the Anambra. We have signed a new law. Let's begin the implementation immediately. We call on all communities, traditional rulers, president generals, etc., to read the law and set up the relevant security governance structures urgently. We plan to start paying monthly security support grant to communities to augment their investment in security. I know each community has its own brand of Agone Chamber, what you call the vigilante. And, many communities are funding this heavily. And I know several communities. I've spoken to quite a number of people, particularly during the last, the Christmas that just went, when many people felt that Anambra had massive, great mass return all over. And each community now claiming to be, many communities claiming to be the safest community, not just in Anambra. Some even tell me they're now the safest community in Southeast. But I think that spirit must continue. But what we will be providing is some form of a grant or, our own contribution to support what you are doing, because we know that the respective communities are making heavy investment in security. The mayors of respective local governments should also act urgently. We will work with the Commissioner of Police and DSS to identify the top 10 local governments with history of violent crimes. As communicated to the DPOs and the area commanders in a meeting we had yesterday, we will, and CP, I think you said, we'll get the list. We'll know them today, tomorrow. We'll have those 10 local governments that have the greatest challenge of violent crimes. And our reward system will be that in any month, for each of them, any month that any of them records 0 violent crime, will have a cash award of 10 million for each of those local governments. If the 10 of them record 0, that will be 100 million, isn't it? Yeah, in a month. In the meantime, we will map out, communities, the communities of high incidences, and we'll design their own reward system. In the meantime, we encourage each community to design and execute its own cleansing and restoration program. It's almost like, for many communities, it will come to the kind of a thing that I remember that happened sometime in the 80s or thereabout, Boys Oye phenomenon, where the people, or some other places, the communities come together and they do all manner of things, and everybody, if you know you are a criminal or not a criminal, you do this or you don't do this. The communities have their own ways of sifting out these criminals, because these criminals live amongst us. We encourage each community to take its own and execute its own cleansing and restoration program. A partnership of the church and traditional institutions and town unions might aid the process. For whistleblowers, anyone that gives us credible information that leads to the arrest of any kidnapper, or information that leads to rounding up of criminals in a camp, will be paid a bounty. We will pay them. If you take us to this camp, give us information, point to the guy who is it, and we grab him and we interrogate and find out that it is true. We will pay you will pay you for the information, for your assistance, up to a maximum of 5 million, depending on the type of the criminal. Depending on the class of the criminal, we'll pay you. Point to the man, show us the guy. We'll come and pick him up. Are you? So, if anyone is there, if anyone is your neighbor, just wink at the person, we'll come and pick him up, and you have something to go home with. I can see many people are going to make money out of this one. Anambra. Before we conclude, let me reiterate our extension of hand of friendship and amnesty to kidnappers, cultists, drug dealers, and other categories of criminals to surrender themselves with their weapons, and our government will ensure that they are rehabilitated and empowered to become productive citizens. All persons wishing to take advantage of this window should register at the office of the Special Advisor to the Governor. As I announced last month, this window remains open until February 28, 2025. If you want to surrender, surrender. No questions asked. Surrender your guns. We will take you, rehabilitate you, give you skills, and give you funds to begin a new life. I want to remind our youths who are in the bush that there is nobody who has lived a long life by living off arms and criminality. Nobody. Because those who kill with a gun also do what? Die with a gun. It's an end game. It takes you nowhere. It's short and it will end. Now you have a window of opportunity. Come out. We will help to reintegrate you into the society. But where you refuse, stay there. We are coming. Let me now thank all citizens and friends of Anambra State who have contributed to the State Security Trust Fund. I salute the courage of some clergy who have stood up to call out the systemic monster that is upon us. I want to also appreciate all those who devote their time, talent, and resources to the security of their various communities. I salute particularly those from Ihiala local government. Currently, we have 4 pre-on-board FOB stationed in various locations in Ihiala local government. There are ongoing clearance operations, and we are determined that the people of Ihiala, particularly of Ebonesie, Osumohu, Lilu, Iseke, Mbose, and others, and indeed the entire Ihiala local government, must be totally liberated from these criminals. And going forward, we are coming. We are coming with determined and structured force. Even if we have to declare the place a war zone, we are coming with a war plan, and we must defeat them. We must rid them of the place. But we need the cooperation of the people. I thank the federal government and the various security agencies for their commitment and support in this struggle to rid our state of organized armies of criminals. They are there in many of these communities, at Mbose, at Lilu, laying IEDs all over the place, even cutting roads that were built so that people will not be able to drive by to come to where they are. But none of this would happen. There is no community that they can succeed in doing this without the complicity of the indigents of that community. And this is the point that we want to make. Several communities went there and fought, and they're free. Ubo used to have about 3 camps. When we had the war of Ubo in 2022, the community also rose up to the occasion. And today, Ubo is certainly one of the safest communities in Anambra State. We can go on and on and on. I just use this illustration because that's a typical place that they had 3 major camps when we assumed office, where some of the biggest social events took place at Ubo during this Christmas. Even in Ihiala local government, which was totally no-go area, several parts of it. I mean, the biggest social event that I think happened in the southeast of Nigeria in 2024 happened at Uli, this last Christmas period, with our friend Dr. Ojako's daughter's marriage that brought the entire world to Uli, that was supposed to be in a no-safe area. But the Ebonesie area, particularly, Ebonesie, Lilu, Mbose, Iseke, Osumohu, and so on, where we must have measured, consistent, and persistent intervention. But the citizens themselves must rise up to take back their communities, as the case may be. To conclude, in the Anambra, I want to remind us that security is a collective responsibility. Government alone cannot do it. Federal security agencies alone cannot do it. Sustainable security in our homeland requires full-scale involvement of responsible citizenship. These criminals are our brothers, sisters, husbands, relations, friends, and others. They are not spirits. They live amongst us, and we know them. The fact is that 99% of these criminals arrested in Anambra since my 34 months in office are Igbos. The false narrative that is a Fulani headsmen and so on and so forth has not been borne out by the evidence of what we're saying. It's just lucrative criminality. Lucrative criminality. People are going to do this for ransom. They're just going into it to make money. Full stop. Any other narrative is just to confuse the matter. This is what it is. It is criminality. And there are Igbos on Igbos. Igbos killing Igbos, not any other thing. And for us, we are fighting a different kind of organized armies of criminals, a kind that Anambra has never seen before. But we must prevail. We must all collectively confront the warped ideology and agitation that lead many amongst us to view security personnel as the enemy and the criminals as the liberators. Those who contribute food and money and send to the criminals in the bushes are part of the problem, and we will begin to treat them as collaborators and criminals. I call on everyone, the town unions, the clergy, the traditional rulers, and all civil society organizations to join in deconstructing the dangerous narratives that legitimize this criminality. For our long-term survival, we must rise up and fight together. If you see or know something, say or do something. Silence means complicity. Complaint is not enough. Every resident or citizen of Anambra must every day ask him or herself, What have you done today to enhance the security and prosperity of the homeland? Only collective action will guarantee sustainable success. On our part as government, be rest assured that we are determined to take the criminals head on and quadruple our efforts in security. We are ready to fight. The next few months will be turbulent. The criminals will seek out and strike at soft targets to test our will. We are in a marathon race and not a sprint. In the next few weeks and months, they will come out just to harass and to intimidate, to cause havoc, to put a damper to the initiative, all in the bid to scare us. We've seen that before. We saw that in 2022, but they finally gave way. And just like they gave way later part of 2022, they will give way now, and they're going to give way permanently. This is a marathon. It's a marathon race because it will require not only the kinetic brute force, but a medium to long-term social re-engineering to reclaim the soul of our society. Almighty God, who sees our hearts and works, will grant us victory. And in the end, Anambra will win. God bless Nigeria. God bless Anambra State. And thank you very much.
So now, as you can see, there is fire on the mountain in Anambra State. What is your opinion? What's your thought about this? Is it really worth it? With the rate of insecurity in Anambra State, in Southeast as general, do you think this brutal force method is worth it? Or do you think the government is going too far about it? Do you think every other Southeast governor should also emulate what the Anambra State government have done? Or you think they shouldn't go this way? What's your opinion? Share your opinion. Let's see. Thank you.